my friend from HSC, that we actually this year also cut HSC expenses almost by 30 to 40%. That's amazing. I mean, this is one thing which we should not be cutting. So I think this is where these are the areas. Then we ignored the two major areas which basically provide employment to Pakistan or in future. One is agriculture. This is where 65% of people live in this country. So unless we do not have a robust agriculture, we will see people moving from the rural areas to the urban areas. We will create problems for the urban areas, and we obviously will create more poverty. And frankly, if you look at the rural areas, more poverty lives in the rural areas than if you look at the totality of poverty in Pakistan. And why is that? Because we have ignored agriculture for the last many decades. If you look at the average growth rate of agriculture in the 60s and 70s compared to the average growth rate of this last decade, there is at least a 3 to 4% drop. Average growth rate. It was 5% plus. It is a little over 1% this year, this decade. Why? We have not invested in water resources, not invested in R&D. We have not invested in the valuation of agriculture, so warehousing, and you name it. I'll give you few statistics and that will demonstrate. In 2001, India and Pakistan, they were producing the same level of cotton bales, 12.5 million bales. Today, India produces 31 million bales, and this year we produce 12.7. I mean, we are stagnant at 28 months to an acre in wheat production for many years. And people have gone beyond 70 months. The sucrose content in our sugar cane is 8.5%, and that's also improvement, by the way, in the last couple of years. And China is 17. So I think we basically have, and you know how much of agriculture produced to be exported. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't even have the transportation. So I think agriculture obviously has to be given a kind of importance, right from the prices down to the value addition and exports. But also manufacturing. Your manufacturing, which is again another kind of area which produces employment, is suffering and has suffered because there is no coherent industrial policy. Clearly we just put in an SME policy 2-3 years ago, but what is the implementation of that? So I think manufacturing is, by the way, fragmented, has to be consolidated. Manufacturing is low on value addition. 1 million bales of cotton is converted in Pakistan, $1 billion, India $2 billion, China $4 billion, Turkey $7 billion. That's where we are today. And this is the largest industry we have. And clearly, we have a very narrow base of manufacturing. We've got to expand that, and we have to expand the market share. Expand the market because 66% we depend on US and EU, and they hold us hostage. And why should we not go and deal with each other over here in this area? Also go to Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Again, we do not have power and energy. If I don't have electricity and there are power shortages of 10 hours, 12 hours a day, how the hell am I going to just progress? And we have almost we have run out of gas. Now I think the market did move towards the economy moved toward market orientation. We privatized. We did I think the regulations were shaped towards market orientation. But then we also had a continued disconnect between the equities market and the real business. If you look at the equities market from 2000 and 2007, I think we grew almost from $2 billion market capitalization to around 65 to 70% billion dollars of market capitalization. How much of that was actually broad-based, affected the entire industry? We all know, I don't have to tell you that. I think Pakistan was affected by its internal imbalances as well as external influences, of course, because when we were dependent on oil and we were dependent on some of these commodities which we have to import, and as the prices went up, We also, because of our own policies, sometime in 2007 when there was election year, and of course the interim government, they refused to take those, measures which then affected, and we had, problems not only fiscal but also balance of payment. We kept spending on, large development, expenditures, and, of course, large subsidies, and the revenues, of course, were growing. But if you look at the tax to GDP, I think tax to GDP started improving. But frankly, it did, the expenditure, outstripped, the increase in revenues. Now, if we look at, the growth, and people talk about growth in the economy, in 2001, 2002, we saw a lot of, liquidity coming back into Pakistan. A lot of people around, the world thought, Pakistan is safer than other places. And then when the liquidity came into the banking sector, that the interest rates dropped to almost, 1 or 2%. For the corporates, some of the good corporates were borrowing at 2.5%. When some of the corporates were borrowing at 2.5%, and the banking sector was 85%, oriented towards the corporate sector. So banking sector suddenly, lost its wheels and said, we do not, our cost of funds is not, 1 to 2%, because the deposit, rates had not gone to 1% or 1.5%. So there, and even the intermediation cost of the banks is 2.5 to 3%. So they had to earn more than 3 to 4%, to just basically break even. And 80-85% of the credit at less than 5%, they were in trouble. So they expanded themselves in products. So they went consumer. They started financing autos. They started financing consumer durables. They started financing credit cards, travel, whatever. The consumer credit rose from almost virtually zero to 12% of the banking within a period of 5 years. And obviously you would charge higher kind of rates on credit cards, on automobiles, on housing loans and all those. But that also made that also pushed the demand for these products, which means the automobile industry